Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Deck Builders. It's been, I don't know, a couple weeks since I've made another video, but I want to do something special today. I'm going to be trying something new. I plan on doing a two-for-one, I guess, two videos in one, two deck techs, I guess you could say. So Standard is coming up to an end, and there's not much fresh and new, and that's one of the reasons I haven't actually posted a video in a while. Is because there's nothing really new to look at. So, and I really want to bore you guys, but I've been getting a lot of videos or requests for videos, just saying, hey, what are you playing? So I decided that that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, well, this is what I've been playing at the end of the FNM season, as we come up to the launch of Innistrad. There was two decks in particular that I played. One was a Birthing Pod deck, and one was, of course, Caw Blade. So I'm going to go over my version of Caw Blade, what I have in it that's specifically for my FNM, and what why it might be a good choice for you. And then in this part two, we'll go over my other deck. It's a pretty stock Birthing Pod list. So let's go ahead and take a look first here at what is commonly referred to as Caw Blade. Alright, so Caw Blade derived its name, of course, from Squadron Hawk and its interactions with Sword of Feast and Famine, or just swords in general, actually. Caw Blade, before the bannings of Jace the Mind Sculptor and Stoneforge Mystic, was considered to be the best deck in Standard. And I would agree with that statement. It was very good. When the bannings happened, a lot of people assumed that Squadron Hawk and Company would not be good enough. In fact, quite the opposite. The deck is still built around a very good strategy of connecting cheap dudes to swords and getting card advantage. The nice thing about blue-white is that the mana base is solid. You have some of the best answers in Magic right now. And you still have a very good engine. So, of course, Squadron Hawk is the base. Now, what is different? Now, there's a lot of different versions of this. Let me show you some of the key differences that I have in mind, and I'll also go over why I think they're good. Now, for FNM's a little different kind of a meta game than you see at most Star City Games 5Ks or Grand Prix. It's a lot more random stuff. And if your deck is if you take a net deck that is completely taken from a 5K, a top 8 of a 5K, yeah, it's going to be a very good deck. But that deck was built for that specific meta. It was built for that specific tournament. And to be playing against other decks that are also built for that, tournament. So if you go to FNM and you start playing against random Joe Blow, who has, some weird infect deck, you might not have the correct tools to answer it. Now, of course, blue-white, as I said, gives you the best tools to answer most combinations of decks, but you have to adjust it, and that's what I did, is I adjusted my main deck. So one thing I have is the Mirri Angels. These guys generate insane card advantage. The drawback to a Mirri Angels, you have to play fetch lands, these guys, to get the most out of your deck. So you have to be playing these fetch lands. Kind of a drawback, but the upside is that you're getting free dudes that equip really well to swords, and you're going to be getting that card advantage like we were talking about. Consecrated Sphinx. Now I played two of these guys because, well, for one thing, he's just ridiculous. One of the best mythic rares in what is this? I think it's Mirrodin Besieged. Just very, very, very good. Now let's look at some other creatures, though, that I run. Now you'll notice it's very much Haymaker type of deck. I wanted a deck, and you're also going to know something very specific. I don't play counterspells in this FNM version. The metagame that I play in FNM, opponents don't play around Mana Leak. You're not going to have someone who's going to sit there and think about their spell and go, do I play it? Does he have Mana Leak, or does he have Spell Pierce? They don't do it. They just freaking run everything in there, which is really good for one if you have it. But if you don't have it, you're going to get punished because you might not have the correct answers. So I figured, I tried something new. I said, well, instead of going this counterspell version that can really screw us up on certain draws, let's go Haymaker tap out kind of thing, like a blue-white tap out control, which was very prominent in like Zendikar standard. And so I have the Sun Titans, very good, especially with Squadron Hawk, especially with Swords of Feast and Famine, because people are going to try to kill these because they think that's your engine. Also very ridiculous with Phantasmal Image. This card, it was originally a 1 of, I made it a 2 of because it was so good, especially with Sun Titan, because if you have this guy in your graveyard because he's easy to kill, you play Sun Titan, you recur Phantasmal Image, copying Sun Titan, and you return whatever you want. It is so good. So that's what I went with there. So this is the standard creature base. Now this is your standard version. There are other versions that play Blade Splicer or Hero Bladehold. Those are very good as well, and they're very good at going aggro or staying control, and that I think is a pretty interesting composition. So I would recommend that too. But this one's a little bit more controlling. So we're going to push aside these creatures, and let's take a look next at our actual control suite and Planeswalkers. Alright, so Planeswalkers are right now one of my favorite cards to play with. They give you great card advantage, and if you can build your deck in a way that you're able to control the board, it's hard to lose. So I run 2 Jace Polarin and 2 Gideon Jura. Now you're going to see awkward numbers between different versions. I like this. I like having Jace. He's one of my favorite cards because the drawing cards is great. He has great synergy with Consecrated Sphinx, this guy. By plussing up Jace, so each player draws a card, you actually draw 3 cards. It's very good. And Gideon Jura is one of the best cards in Standard because if you can resolve him and you get him to stick for a turn, your opponent is going to be very hard pressed to win the game, at least through damage, with this guy on the board. You have to be very careful of Doom Blades and go for the throats with Gideon, but that shouldn't be an issue. So we're going to push those to the side. For removal, I have Dismember, Oblivion Ring, of course. Oblivion Ring is ridiculous. We have Day of Judgment, and that should round out straight removal. Dismember, now 2 is kind of an awkward number, but it's a mix between do I want to lose how much life do I want to lose, and how much do I actually want to kill things. You have your Day of Judgment for a mass sweep, but Dismember is really needed against combo decks like the Splinter Twin combo, which is so stupid. I hate that deck. And then you have Oblivion Ring, which is very good all around removal, but it's very bad against, say, Splinter Twin. So kind of rounded out. This version, of course, I will admit, is a little soft to Splinter Twin decks. But you know, just be thankful that that deck's going to be gone, because I don't think it's very fun. But personally, I never really cared for combo decks in general. I think they're just not fun in general. So okay, so last bit. Again, this is very much FNM style. I run 4 timely reinforcements. This is to ensure I help win against red deck wins, because red deck wins is a very good deck, especially against goblins. And then we have Preordain to round it out. One thing you might want to try is the 3 Preordain and 1 Ponder, or 4 Preordains and 1 Ponder. I actually really like that in one of our testing games, our testing sessions rather. So that's that. Quickly, let's talk about the mana base. The only thing I want to talk about is, because this is blue-white, has a very good mana base. The one thing that's going to screw you up more than once are these guys. These are Tectonic Edges, if you can't read Chinese, which I know you all can. And then I have an Inkmoth Nexus right here. Now, I only run 1 Inkmoth Nexus. One, because it's really nice to have the Inkmoth Nexus to prevent other Inkmoth Nexus decks, like Infect, anything random. And it's also equips really well to a sword. I don't like having 2, because I have gotten hands where you get your opening hand is this, and you're like, I can't do a thing with this hand. I have 4 lands but can't play a thing. Even something like this, And the more colorless sources you add, the more likely you're going to be giving yourself that opportunity to draw that awkward hand. So that's why I go with this. I'm going to post the sideboard I run in the bar down below. The bottom bar, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not going to go over it here. Next, we're going to go over my version of, well, technically it's a pretty stock version of Birthing Pod.